kind of give you a little background so you kind of understand what I went through down the road. I did grow up in the church, but I was also, my father wasn't involved in the church. Had an abusive family, watched a lot between my mom and dad. Vowed I'd never go down that road. Fast forward a little, I got married, ended up drugs, alcohol, started getting abusive. I finally left that situation, landed in another relationship that started out pretty good, and then again the drugs, the alcohol. The abuse on that one was really bad. I was really worried for my life, to the point that I was told to tell everybody things that were going on. I had reported death threats. My kids were answering the phone and being told that they weren't going to have a mother much longer. Vowed that he would set out to ruin me. And out of fear, I kept trying to get away, but I'd always end up back because of fear. And then I had restraining orders on him, which those aren't always worth much, but I was working part-time, I was bartending. I had kind of pulled away from the church and God, not understanding why he would keep putting me through these kinds of things. I met my husband. He came in with his cousin one time, my current husband, just to kind of move forward a little bit. At that point in time, I wasn't very nice when we met because I didn't trust men, didn't want anything to do with them. I was fine working 2 to 3 jobs and raising my kids, being a single mom. I was okay with that. I didn't feel like I had much of a life, but I was taking care of them, and I didn't want them to keep going through and seeing what I had been going through. So little by little, I got to know my husband Lee a little better, and he was unlike anybody I'd ever met. Kind, considerate, very giving, a very big heart, but there were a lot of secrets I didn't know about. Fast forward a little bit, because I'm trying to keep this somewhat short. We ended up getting married, built a house, life was good, and then things started coming out, and he would shut down, wouldn't talk to me. He was never physically abusive, like I had experienced in the past, but emotionally, and it wasn't intentional really. He grew up in a very abusive family where his mom was beat all the time, and there was a lot of molestation in the family and just a lot of things. And he had always kept that inside. And he never revealed that to me, but his cousin that introduced us did, so that I had a better understanding of why we would get close and then we would fall apart. He started, well, his job, he was on the sheriff's department, and just some of the things that they put him in undercover, it started really messing with him because we had decided to get involved in church again. So we were very involved in church, and then he started pulling away. He started dealing with issues with his job that was really giving him mixed feelings, started shutting me down, very emotionally. I mean, he would be the first to tell you he was very mean emotionally. And I prayed and prayed to God, why did you put somebody else in my life just to tear it all down again? And I really didn't understand, and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, and then finally we did separate. Told him I didn't want a divorce. I tried to encourage him to get into counseling. He flat refused. So there was nothing wrong with him. He didn't need help. The man pride thing. But we finally did separate, and I was very angry at God for that because I felt like my prayers once again weren't answered. I let my guard down. I got back into something that it was just ripping me apart again. About a month after we separated, and I found this out from my pastor, Lee called because he wanted out. He thought he was just missing something out there because basically what his job was, the county would give them money to go in the strip joints to make busts, and they had counseling for officers that dealt with that, but he didn't think he needed anything. But anyway, I guess about a month into it, Lee finally called our pastor because he had totally turned his back on church and God and everybody else, and told him that he basically didn't want to live anymore. So our pastor at the time, keeping in mind that I too had backed away from church. I quit going because I was angry. I just didn't feel like God really cared anymore. And apparently Lee was ready to commit suicide, and our pastor went over there, and Lee said that he had prayed to God to show him the kind of pain he had put me through, to understand what I was going through. He said suddenly this wave went over him where he fell to his knees and just sobbed. And at that point in time, with the help of our pastor, he did go into Christian on his own. But anyway, I was just really, really angry. And he did come back about 6 months into it and apologized, told me that he didn't expect an answer, but asked for forgiveness. My guard was back up, so I had to kind of, I told him, I said, we're going to start from the beginning, like we never met, and you're going to have to prove to me because I can't go through this again. Anyway, to kind of fast forward again, to keep it short, I guess the point I'm trying to make is almost 1 year to the day we got back together. And we're stronger now, better than we've ever been. And looking back and reflecting over this, I guess my wow moment is you have to trust God. God knew that we both needed that. We both had pulled away for different reasons. We turned our back, and we both decided, unbeknownst to the other one, to go back to church, and we ended up at church again. But little by little, and just, like I said, reflecting back over all that, what I learned was you have to trust God. God knew everything He was doing in that whole situation. He knew that that year apart is what we needed, not only to make our marriage stronger, but to get back on track with Him. So now we're very involved in the church again. Like I said, our marriage is better than it's ever been. Do we have our ups and downs? Sure. Every marriage does, but that was just a real eye-opener to me about how God really works behind the scenes, and you don't always understand what's going on. I really thought this was it, and I was done believing. I was done having faith. But looking back now, that year apart is actually what saved our marriage, and I think it saved both of our lives, because I don't know what path we would have went down had we not gotten turned back around. So, I did that short and sweet.